5, 4.
Good to see you guys. I'm sitting here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the home of Adam Kokesh. Adam, thanks for being on Motorhome Diaries.
Right on.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Adam a few months ago at the Free State Project's Liberty Forum up in New Hampshire, and it was there that I learned about Iraq Veterans Against War and the work he'd done. Would you mind telling our viewers a little bit about?
Sure. Well, I joined Iraq Veterans Against War relatively late in the game, actually, because I didn't get out of the Marines till November 2006, at least off active duty. But we were founded in 2004 in fall at a Veterans for Peace convention. And Veterans for Peace is still our parent organization, if you will, of which I'm also a proud member. And while Veterans for Peace has the broader goal of ending war as a means of conflict resolution and looking at the root causes of war and seeking justice around armed conflict, in Iraq Veterans Against War, since our inception, we've called for 3 very specific things. And that's the immediate withdrawal of all occupying forces from Iraq, full benefits for returning veterans regardless of discharge status, and reparations for the Iraqi people. And within that, what's so important is, at least in that second one, is regardless of discharge status in terms of veterans' benefits, because we have a lot of vets coming home with post-traumatic stress disorder, and then they get in trouble in the military for behavioral issues caused by a disorder that the military caused. They get a bad conduct discharge, and then they don't get the benefits associated with it. They're supposed to treat the disorder caused by their military service in the first place. Something's really screwed up here, and so it's at least it's that part of it that we get to see real progress on.
Right, and now the feds are trying to ban people from owning firearms that have been
right, the Veterans Disarmament Act.
Right.
The idea, like, let's keep the guns away from the crazy veterans. Well, some bad news for how that actually works is because you're not going to. All you're doing is driving vets out of treatment. You're not going to have veterans going, oh, okay, I'm just going to turn my guns in because some guy at the VA told me I have PTSD.
Right.
You're going to get them staying away from the system and not getting the treatment they need and drinking themselves into bottles, and that's what's really dangerous.
Right, and it's obvious that you're real knowledgeable about these ideas. You've done some great speeches about them, like some of the most charismatic stuff I've ever seen. So what resources did you look to get your foundation in these ideas? Would you suggest for other people to look at?
I don't know. I think my foundation for my political philosophy comes from my experience and from my own soul searching. I can't really point to any particular academic thinkers that I can say, like, that's where I got it. I mean, I love Rothbard's principle of self-ownership. I love like anybody who argues from philosophical axioms that I know are true, but the way that I know they're true is from my experience, and like I said, I've always been a libertarian intellectually. And the transformation for me was going to Iraq and realizing in a visceral way that the issues we talk about, they're not academic. When we're talking about government and the use of force and violence in our society, all of these issues, just to one degree or another, really are a matter of life and death. And when you can internalize that, or when I internalized that, that became the source of strength for me. That became the compelling force for me as an activist.
Right, so you touched on these ideas as being like a political philosophy or philosophical ideas, but yeah, we do live in the here and now, and there's politics involved. And
well, a violence-based society is what we have.
Yeah, and it seems like both parties have, are equally to blame, right? I mean, the Democrats campaign on being, anti-war, but they continue it.
Well, I hate to be the one telling the audience what they don't want to hear, but I always blame the American people first, at least ultimately. And de Tocqueville said it in 1831, in a democracy, and I know we're a constitutional democratic republic, but in a democracy, people get the government they deserve. And I think that's true about all governments across all times, that really the responsibility rests with the people. And, as I think it was Frederick Douglass said, the limits of oppression will be, or the limits of tyranny will be prescribed by the people's tolerance of oppression.
Right.
And, and you can apply this to Saddam Hussein and how we were propping him up. And the best thing we could have done to get rid of Saddam, if that's what we really wanted to do, would be engage in what the founders advised, in free trade and empower the people. And instead, we sanctioned Iraq and gave them embargoes that destroyed the economy for people and killed, 1 million children by starvation and lack of access to medical supplies. And it didn't affect Saddam's lifestyle one bit. In fact, if anything, you make the people weaker, you make the dictator stronger. Right. We're exporting all the evils of our system around the world with our foreign policy now. But still, the fundamental blame or the final responsibility lays on the shoulders of the American people.
So how do we motivate those American people to take responsibility to restrain this aggressive foreign policy?
Well, I've always said that the greatest problem with America is culture, and it's the bubble culture. The idea of living in a world where you only consider what affects your daily life and your creature comforts and that sort of thing. You don't consider the moral implications of your actions, things that affect the world outside of your own bubble. And I've taken it upon myself as an activist to try to pull people out of that bubble and get them engaged in thinking about the moral implications of their actions. And in Iraq Veterans Against the War, in testifying about our experiences, one of the ways that we do that is we share the raw pain associated, that is a direct result of statism. But this applies to really all libertarian issues. If people can share their pain about, being accosted by the police, or the detrimental effects of taxation, or, whatever it is where they have suffered at the hands of statism, just for the people who got a $200 parking ticket last week, and because of that, they were just pushed right below the poverty line. People aren't talking about that because it's like it's shameful and it's embarrassing. But if we all were just openly share the pain that we all feel as a result of the statism that we live under and the violence-based society that we have, we could really see that we're all in this together. The people versus the establishment and the current power structure, right. and pull people out of their bubbles and realize that the petty things used to divide us are much less relevant than the basic human things that unite us.
Yeah, so even in the midst of this economic downturn and all this other stuff going on, I mean, you have definitely remained an optimist, right?
Well, I take the long view of human history,
okay.
And that always makes me an optimist. And it's a process of 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. And we may be in the middle of a huge step backward that you could say started in 1913.
Right.
But, even within that, we've made some steps forward.
Right.
But I think we're due for a big step forward right now.
Great. And what is the... Can you tell us, I guess that's a good transition, can you tell us what you're going to be doing to help make that a positive step forward?
Yeah, well, right now I'm getting ready to run for Congress here from Santa Fe, New Mexico's 3rd District, and I'm in the exploratory phase. And so we're gauging the grassroots support. We're seeing if all the pieces come together. Now that we have the formal structure, we can start fundraising. And it's really exciting to see already the kind of support that I've gotten just since Friday. I mean, 3 days ago,
yeah.
Declaring an exploratory committee, we've already got the respect and attention of the Santa Fe New Mexican. They did a great article on it. And to have that is just, it's really exciting. But I always try to put it in the bigger context, because the revolution that we talk about in our movement is a revolution of values. It's a revolution that's going to happen here and here. And when that happens, it's going to be a paradigm shift. And when we get that, it will be reflected in our governance or lack thereof one way or another. And I consider the idea of running for Congress just a way of grabbing a bigger microphone or grabbing a bigger chisel to chip away at state power. But the end goal is the paradigm shift. It's the revolution of the mind. It's the return to morality. It's the recognition of the American people that what the government does is doing in our names. The crimes are being done with our consent. And we need to take that away and bring our society back to one of voluntary interactions where there's no violence and coercion between fellow human beings. And that's the big picture. That's what we're really fighting for.
That's excellent. Adam, I appreciate your time, and best of luck.
Right on. Thanks, bro.
Blue, you want to sign this?
What are you doing?
Laboring.
Oh, buddy. Oh, wait.
Uh-oh.
You made me mess up.
Oh, shit.
Nice.
Draw like a paw print or something.
Right?
Or blue.
Blue, yeah.
Yeah. Good job, Blue. The first pooch.
Yeah, draw a little paw print on it.
B.
Nice.
That was perfect. Nice.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Your turn.
Yeah, you guys can.
There you go.
Perfect.
Very nice.
Very